I don't know if you realize the significance of this place. This place, Independence, it's named Independence Park after the independence of the modern state of Israel. And in 1967, just before the Six-Day War, this is the place, this park, where the government of Israel sent grave diggers to dig 10,000 graves because they thought they were going to lose the war and they would just have bodies piling up and didn't want diseases. And so this was going to be a cemetery. That was the plan if we lost the war, or if we had a partial loss of the war, right? If it was a complete loss, we'd all be killed. But if we lost just enough where we would survive, they expected 10,000 dead. And so they dug graves in this park. And now this park is a place of life. A place of life where people are not coming for graves, they're coming for life to celebrate the Feast of Sukkot, living in these tents, living in these Sukkot from all over the world, from all the nations.
And what about the dry bones?
Tell us about the dry bones, Emily.
You're talking about death, and this is now life. And then in Ezekiel, it talks about the dry bones. They're the valley of dry bones, and then they start clattering and coming together, and then they get flesh put on them, and then they get the spirit in them.
Yes. So, this is it. You made the connection that here we have a place which was supposed to be a cemetery, and now the bones have come back to life. God's people are gathered back into his land. This, to me, is a fulfillment of prophecy. You being here.
Please let me explain to you what I believe is happening to us. According to Abba's promise, to his word, the word through which everything was made, the word that remains forever, thus is trustworthy. The word that will still be reliable when heaven and earth have passed away. This word, by the Spirit, is being written on your heart. And thus you start to walk in Abba's statutes and ordinances. Whoever does walk in Abba's statutes and ordinances, Abba promises to him life. Through our walk, we show that we trust Abba. And through the children that trust Abba, he receives honor for being a good father. Now, Yeshua is our perfect example in this. Following in Yeshua's footsteps ever so closely brings glory, honor to our Father in heaven. Now the Spirit causes us to come hastily under his wings. So please read Psalm 91 carefully in light of these words that Yeshua spoke. He said, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often that I want to gather your children." The Moedim are called a holy gathering. Let me share with you how Abba explains to us the importance of being gathered under his wings. It is a matter of life and death. So one of these days that in the past years when we went up to Jerusalem, we had in our luggage, so to speak, 4 little ducklings that were alive ducklings that we had picked up from the street just days prior before we were going up to Jerusalem for, I believe it was Pesach. And because in the few days that remained until we wanted to be in Jerusalem, we didn't find anybody to take care of these little ducklings. We decided to take them with us. So 2 of those 4 little ducklings that we took, they died in my hands in Jerusalem because they were too cold. On our way up, they just got cold and they didn't have the warmth that they needed, and they died in my hands. And Abba was talking to me through this so intensely. Because for my part, I always believed when Yeshua said, "I wanted to gather you like little chicks on a hen is gathering them under her wings," and you didn't want to. I always thought that those little chicks, they're just wandering off and they'll just find whatever they like somewhere else, and they They're just disobedient. But with these little ducklings dying in my hand right there, and I understood that it was just too cold for them. I understood what Yeshua referred to when he said, like, I wanted to gather you and you didn't want to. It is a matter of life and death. If we are not willing to be gathered under his wings, we're prone to die. We're so likely to be not making it the way he wants to bless us. And Yeshua says, whoever honors the Father will honor him. And this honor is referred to in Psalm 91 as just belonging. If you read towards the end of Psalm 91, it is you're being delivered and you're being honored by the Father. It goes together. And this, how it goes together there is also what we find in Joel. He says in Mount Zion, those that call upon the name of Jehovah, they will escape, because in Mount Zion there are those that will escape. There's escape. And so he wants to gather us. And now Yeshua says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses it or is ready to lose it for my name's sake will preserve it. How can we understand this? Well, going back to Psalm 91, if you read it carefully, again, you will find the reference of what Yeshua talked about. This being gathered under his wings is you're protected, you're saved there. Even though it doesn't look like you're going to be safe when you go up to Jerusalem because of maybe a virus, or maybe even worse, all Jerusalem is being surrounded by armies. We read about that. We know it's going to come. So one of these coming years, Jerusalem will be surrounded by armies. That's from a worldly perspective. It looks like you're on a suicide mission going up to Jerusalem for Pesach. So in light of this, Yeshua's words begin to make so much more sense. Whoever wants to save his life, thinking, if I'll go up to Jerusalem, now I'll most likely die there. I much rather keep Pesach in exile, because disaster will not come near us there. It will not confront us. But if you look at Amos 9 verse 10, what does Yeshua say? The one who loves his life will lose it. It's John 12:25. And Amos 9:10 says, all the sinners of my people will die by the sword. But the one who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life, it says in John 12:25. And again in Amos 9:9 it says, not the least grain shall fall to the earth. So when Yeshua said he wants to gather us under his wings, he is revealing to us what Psalm 91 is talking about. Under his wings you will find refuge. 1,000 may fall to your side and 10,000 to your right hand, but it will not come near you. It's the opposite of what we think. We think in our worldly minds that if we stay away from it, it will not come near us. Look at it again in Amos 9:10. But the opposite is true. If we come and hide under his wings in Jerusalem, then it will not come near us. So let me finish off here with Yeshua's words again that he spoke in response to a request of those people that had come from far away, Greeks, that inquired in Jerusalem during Pesach from the disciples to see Yeshua. Can we please see Yeshua? And in response to that, Yeshua said to his disciples, anyone that serves me must follow me. And where I am, my servant will also be. And if anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. You want to be honored by Abba? Honor him by following Yeshua. Deny yourself even all the way up to Jerusalem. Like Paul gave us an example. by saying I feel compelled by the Spirit to go up to Jerusalem. Even if I may die there, I'm still going there.
I am waiting for your return. I am of your return. You are Israel, my firstborn son. You are Israel, my chosen one. How I long to gather you in my arms still. Hold you, I am waiting for your return. This is the time of your return. So arise, arise now and shine. For your time has come. Shake off the dust and clothe yourself in white, my bride, and return to me. And I will return to you. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Our mouths are filled with laughter, our mouths begin to sing. We are like men who dream. 'Cause souls are so confused now.
Come Reuben, Yehuda, and Levi. Come Joseph, Benjamin, and Dan. Come Shimon, Issachar, and Zebulun. Come Gad, Asher, and Naphtali. Come unto the mountain. Come unto the mountain. Come with sacrifices of righteousness.